Hello, everyone. My name is check. Yep, my name is not check. My name is Shane Coopersmith, and it's awesome to be here. Thank you, guys. Okay, so I work in the green building space. Does anyone here work in the green building space? Nice. All right, I'm excited to chat later. So you guys are probably somewhat familiar with USGBC. There's LEED certifications, and I work under True certifications. I'll get into all of that in a bit. But first, I'll introduce myself. I'm Shane. I work at All About Waste. It's a small to medium-sized consultancy based out of Los Angeles, California, and I am one of the project managers. And I'll tell you what that means in just a bit, because in this presentation, I'm going to be going over a case study of one of our projects we worked on. So first things first, USGBC. There's another acronym to throw at you guys. It is the United States Green Building Council. And within the United States Green Building Council, they have a certification called TRUE, which is in fact another acronym that stands for Total Resource Use and Efficiency. This all falls within under sustainable construction. TRUE measures and improves zero waste performances. Okay, so this is on the front end, before they're building buildings or renovating them, and also on the back end after the building has been constructed and what their policies are in practice to actually, in fact, be zero waste. For the case study today, I'm going to be talking about a project that was involved with the renovation of an existing construction building, and essentially what we did with all the waste to divert it from the landfill. Here we go. So it was a high-profile Silicon Valley tech-based company. You can use your imagination what company might be headquartered there. They have great sustainability goals, and actually they wanted to achieve zero waste during construction. For context, what percent of construction waste accounts for waste in the United States? Let me rephrase that again. Construction waste accounts for what percent of waste in the United States? 23%. Great job, everybody. That's right. 23% of all waste in the United States is involved with the construction and demolition industry. That's a lot. For context, on this particular site, we were diverting 250,000 pounds of waste from the landfill. Your car weighs about 5,000 pounds. So it was a lot of waste. And here's how we did it. First, there's 4 steps, at least according to my presentation. Really, there's a million steps as a project manager, but I distilled it down to 4 steps. So the first step we take in order to help our client reach zero waste for their construction project is we conduct a waste audit and then register the project. So what that means is we got to understand what kind of waste, how much waste, actually we don't deal with hazardous waste, that's another category, but like what kind of waste, concrete, soil, doors, windows, you name it, everything like that is all a byproduct of construction and demolition in the US. So we have to first understand what type of project or what type of waste we're dealing with, and then also register it with the USGBC True certification, because they get a nice accolade if the project is zero waste true certified, among other things. So that's the first step. Make sense? Okay, we got to basically deal with, like, what are we dealing with? Second, we develop a plan to deal with all this waste. That's called a construction waste management plan. So essentially, we outline the waste reduction strategies and we find vendors. Vendors being who's going to take our waste, which is really its resources in this world. We were talking to the right people here. Nothing is actually waste. It's actually just another resource. So we find the vendors that are actually going to take the resources, waste, from our construction site, divert it from the landfill, essentially. Then the third step, and I highlighted it because, well, this one takes a lot of work. This is basically implementing and monitoring. So executing the waste management plan by actually having our vendors and partners, not like, I guess follow through would maybe be the right word, but just essentially like we tell them this is the scope of the project, this is how much waste, and what are you guys going to do with it, how can we support you? But let me back up just a little bit because this actually is this is an important one. There's this like magic little triangle in the building industry. It's the owner, architect, contractor. So essentially, like owners financing and who's owning the building. The architect is architect and engineer. They're the ones that are building the project, designing it, and then, or I'm sorry, designing it, and then the contractor is the one who's building it. So we work a lot with if we're kind of late into the project, we basically work with the contractor. So we have them sign off to the construction waste management plan. Every contractor is a little different. Some of them are more willing than others to actually support this endeavor of sustainability, but we have different reasons that they'll buy into it. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent, but we're still on. I just want to give some context there. Okay, so now that we have the contractor on board with essentially streamlining the waste, and we're in step number 3, which is implementing and monitoring, we have our contractor get the waste prepared and essentially set it up for diversion by our vendors. Then, once we've successfully diverted all the waste, we submit it for certification to the USGBC so they can get true certified. I'll dive deeper into step 3 because, like I said, that is the one that really is the meat and potatoes of true certification. So up here you see waste diversion strategies, right? Has anyone here heard of Premier or Green Standards? Yes, nice. Which one? Yes. Yeah, basically, and we partner with Premier Recycling and Green Standards, among other vendors. Essentially, Premier Recycling is they're a waste hauling service that helps construction companies divert their waste. And then Green Standards is a Canada-based company that they specifically help commercial real estate divert their waste. So essentially, there's a lot of renovations going on. These like high-profile tech companies, they renovate their offices, seems almost annually. And they have a lot of waste. They're throwing out whiteboards, tables, chairs, all these things. And most of it goes to landfill, even though it can totally be repurposed, right? So Green Standards found this niche, and they started diverting. They would come to these companies that were renovating their office spaces and finding new homes for all this waste. I work for a consultancy that basically brokers all these deals across the dozens of vendors. Cool. I'll tell you guys a little side tangent. This is a good story about where some of our waste went. Who here drives a car? Okay, nice. When you're driving at night, you turn on the lights, right? And there's striping in the streets, so you know you stay in your lane. So in the paint striping, there's actually glass. And it's there so it can reflect the light, so you can more appropriately stay in your lane, I guess, while you're driving at night. Well, most of the lanes are painted by a company called Swarco, which is actually Swarovski, which is actually the company that makes the diamond rings for you. They're a huge conglomerate, and their Swarco branch paints many of the roads in the United States and all over the world with this striping that has glass in it. Cool? Our client was getting rid of a ton of glass, thousands and thousands of pounds of glass, and they were just going to throw it in the landfill. Well, we reached out to Swarco, and they take donations of glass, and so we put the glass on pallets, and then it was loaded into their trucks, and they drove it to their facility in the U.S. I believe it was in Texas. They broke it down, grinded it up, put it in paint, and now paint roads with the glass from this office building. So that's an example of a cool, upcycling, if you will, of where some of our waste goes. Okay, so that's kind of that. That's basically the waste diversion strategies. We partner with Premier Recycling. They do concrete and soils. Green Standards repurposes for example, chairs, desks, etc. Swarco takes the glass. I can go on and on with the amount of different materials that we're trying to divert. Does anyone here know of a way to divert fiberglass-based wall insulation? No? Yeah, that's where I've been struggling for years on where to find somewhere to divert wall insulation. So if anyone knows or if anyone has a contact, then please let me know. That's been the biggest struggle thus far. Okay, so those are some of the vendors that take our waste. Now I'll go into the project outcomes of this specific case study. So basically it worked. Our client worked on achieving their milestones of the 90% diversion target, which is what true qualifies in order to be certified. Basically you establish partnerships with different vendors. So it's a lot of calling at first, and then once they realize who you are and who the client is, and they keep coming back, Swarco will continue taking the glass, etc. And it created a nice replicable framework. So this is basically the conclusion and next steps here. Construction waste accounts for what percent of waste in the US? 23%. It's a big market out there, okay? There's a lot of money in it, and there's a lot of ways to help save the planet along the way. True certification is a certification silo, if you will, under the United States Green Building Council. And then if you're interested in getting one of your projects, and you know someone who might be interested in having one of their projects true certified, please feel free to contact me, Shane Coopersmith. I'm also online as Sustainable Shane on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Shameless plug. What I do there is I teach about different tips and tricks on how to live a more sustainable life. I'm on LinkedIn too. Thank you.